Hello, Next Level fans. I'm here to talk about last week's Virginia game and tomorrow's upcoming Pitt game. Um, Last week's game was not what I expected. UNC was favored by 17, but I guess we were overdue for. It's not a letdown. It's kind of like a semi letdown because the offense did not play as nearly as well as they should have. They played below average, but we got the job done. We won by 13 points in a game that, when you saw the way the second half unraveled, there was no doubt who was going to win that game. Like, once we went up 23-13, we were going to win that game. So we did the job. Plus, there was only 5 days between that game and this game. So I was impressed about that game last week. Let's go ahead and get into the yards, and then we'll go back and talk about the game real quick. UNC had 422 yards total of offense, 65 plays, which is good for 6.5 yards per play, which that's below average for UNC. Like, at least compared to what they have done this season, that's below average performance. But they did fine. They did fine. They just didn't put points on the board because they were getting up and down the field. They were doing whatever they wanted with Virginia's defense. They just did not put sevens on the board. They put threes on the board. So that was the offensive problem. And let me just illustrate this point. They were getting their yards. Like I said, Marquise was 21 for 26, 226 yards passing, 1 pick, no touchdowns, 12 carries, 71 yards. Marquise got yards. I think his yards per attempt was 8.7. So, fine. Elijah Hood, 21 carries, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns. He got his yards. Our offense was fine, 422 yards. They just did not get sevens. They got threes. And I think that's what made the score closer, or what made the game closer than it should have been. Like, even at halftime. The first half, to me, was just a bunch of missed opportunities. Like, I think we got 3 opportunities to put touchdowns. Only 1 did we convert for 7. The other times we had to score for 3. And then there was a fourth opportunity that was snatched away from us when Matt Collins was called for offensive pass interference, which I don't know who to believe. Somebody texted me and told me that they believe that Hall was pushed off. But watching that video, it seemed like the defensive back just fell to the ground. And maybe it was both, but if the defensive back is falling to the ground anyway, I'm giving the offensive benefit of the doubt on that play. So that was not a good look for us. As I said, like, that first half, we went into the game tied because we let Virginia hang around, and they did just enough to keep up with us because we did not run away from them like we should have at halftime. Second half, our defense put on a clinic. I don't know how many yards they had after halftime. I think the bulk of Virginia's yards happened before halftime. They got some yards in the second half, but they had 5 turnovers. And speaking of turnovers, if you listen to my video last week, or watched my video last week, I said that Virginia has not gone a game without committing a turnover. So at halftime, I'm still waiting for this turnover because we haven't seen it yet. In the second half, we saw 5 of them. And I don't know how many of those were UNC playing well and how many of those were UVA playing badly. But clearly our defense really controlled that game in the second half and really took UVA out. Like, even when UNC should be at like 20, 25 points, our defense went out there, gave 100%. Oh, Shaquille Rashad, I think he had like 10 tackles. Our linebackers, they're playing well out there. In the secondary, I mean, I think the quarterback threw 4 picks. They played so well. So I'm so happy. Our second half defense is so completely different from our first. But that was a decent game for us. We won ugly. We showed that we could win that way when the other team comes in and tries to play us ugly like that. Hold the ball, run screens, rush, make everything super ugly. We won that game. And 26-13 was not indicative of the way that game unraveled in the second half. Like I said, that game really got away from Virginia in the fourth quarter. So that's all on that front. Oh, penalties. We had 10 penalties for 135 yards, and I don't know. I think a lot of the Carolina fans have gotten to a point where we feel like we're getting the short end of the stick here. We don't seem like we're getting our calls, and I think some of that is true. But this game to me sticks out because this particular game we had 10 penalties, 135 yards. In no other game did we have penalties quite like that. In the Fedora era, UNC has been good for penalties. I mean, Fedora teams get penalized often, but this team has done a good job of being disciplined and not allowing that to happen. Saturday was a different story, and I don't know whether we were getting. Well, I know we got a couple, 3 or 4 bad calls, but there's some other calls that they're going to happen if you're not disciplined. One call that did not I wasn't happy about were the defensive pass interference calls. I think they were 2 back to back, and we may have had like 3 or 4 total. All of them seemed to be on Malik Simmons because the dude would not turn his head around. However, some of those balls were not in the neighborhood of that receiver. Like, let's say you need to be throwing the ball to Chapel Hill. If you throw the ball to Durham, I'll give you that call. It's in the neighborhood. The dude can go catch that. But you throw the ball in Greensboro, he's not catching that. And we got penalized for that. So I can see why a lot of Carolina fans were pissed. Because the Virginia quarterback out here throwing the ball to Charlotte, where his receiver's sitting in Chapel Hill, and he's getting calls. Those throws were not near the receiver. But because our cornerback did not turn his head around, we got flagged for it anyway. A rule is a rule. So that's the reason why we kept getting flagged. But it's one of those where the rules don't count for common sense. We just gotta play better. We cannot give the referees a reason to call it out, even if the ball's not catchable, because like someone tweeted, 10 out of 10 times referees are gonna call it out. He could throw the ball to Africa or Asia, and he's probably gonna get that call if the defensive back's not looking around. But just penalties across all 3 phases. Because our offense, I think we had false starts. Probably illegal formation. I think we may have even had 12 men on the field. It's just sloppy. So we need to clean that up because we're not going to win a bunch of games going forward like that. Our next 2 games are Pitt and Duke. Both teams are ranked. And this 2-game stretch really decides whether UNC will be in the driver's seat for the Coastal or will fall out of the Coastal race. I mean, to be honest with you, that's pretty much what these 2 games are. And we got to play a whole lot better in the next 2 weeks, coming up against pretty good defenses if we want to be good. Our offense has to be more efficient than they have. Our defense needs to keep it up, but they need to make sure they clean up on the discipline side. Cornerbacks need to turn their heads around. They need to make sure that we're not giving the offense any more yards than they earn. So that's all I need to say on that front. Penalties, just clean it up. And I know how it feels the last 2 weeks of being a Carolina fan, understandably frustrated with some of the calls we've been getting. But I just don't believe that all those calls were bad calls. UNC must have had some of those calls coming. And that means that we have room to improve. So that needs to happen. Okay. Tomorrow is the Pitt game. Pitt is ranked 23rd, but oddly enough, UNC is favored in this game by 3 points. And I think that shocked a lot of us. The Vegas line came out Sunday, and it opened up at UNC by 2.5. And we're thinking, Pitt is ranked. Pitt's playing at home. And even though they're playing in a pro stadium, so the stadium's not going to be full, but there's going to be quite a few people in that stadium. So it's going to be rocking up there. All things considered, UNC is favored by 2.5. Vegas must know something we don't. And I guess the only 2 theories I can come up with is, one, Pitt hasn't really beaten a good team yet. Pitt has not beaten an FBS team with a winning record. So that's not lost in my mind. I think that's one of the arguments I heard people make. And the other one, styles make fights. And Pitt plays a bruising style, but their style relies on their defense and special teams. And with UNC's offense, if our offense gets back to rolling, which especially after that wake up call we had last Saturday, I expect our offense to come out swinging. If UNC jumps on top of Pitt early, we can control that game. And even if we don't jump on top of them early, offense is capable of being explosive at any time. And we showed after that Virginia game and even the Georgia Tech game, we can hang around. So that's all important. Styles make fights. And Pitt's out here making every game look ugly, but at some point that's going to backfire in your face. So Vegas, like I said, Vegas knows something we don't. And there must be a reason they're favoring UNC by 3 points, even though Pitt is the ranked team playing at home. But I think that's all I have to say. This game tomorrow is so big for us. Like I said, this 2-game stretch is us, Pitt, and Duke. We're all undefeated in the Coastal Division in ACC play. Pitt and Duke are ranked, even though neither of them have won against a winning FBS team. UNC has. So I know a lot of Carolina fans are pissed on that front. But we had a schedule in front of us. Lucky for us, we get to play both of them. And based on the mess going on in Miami, Duke's playing Miami this weekend. It's at Duke. But there's so much instability going on. I think Brad Clyde's not even playing. You expect Duke to win that game. So when UNC plays Duke, if UNC wins tomorrow, that'll be a ranked game. These are 2 big games for us. Because people will be watching. So let's see what the Tar Heels do tomorrow night when we play Pitt. 23rd ranked Pitt, 7 o'clock kickoff, ESPN. Go Heels. This is Jonathan Atkinson signing off. On to the next level.